My parents said they had no space for my children at Thanksgiving. But my sister's whole family was invited. They said, "We love those children more." When they noticed I had ended their support, it was already too late. I never imagined my own parents would one day look me in the eye and tell me my children weren't welcome in their home. Yet, there I was, standing in my kitchen, staring at my phone in disbelief. Thanksgiving was just a few weeks away, and my dad's voice was unusually light as he spoke. "Son, we need to talk about Thanksgiving this year." My heart warmed for a moment. For all the tension that had existed between us over the years, I still longed for these family traditions. My kids, Emma and Lucas, adored their grandparents despite the distance that had formed. "Of course, Dad. What's the plan?" I asked, already picturing the way their house would be filled with the smell of roasted turkey, cinnamon, and the warmth of a family gathering. There was a brief pause, just long enough to send a chill down my spine. "Well," Dad continued, clearing his throat. "This year, we're doing things a little differently. It's going to be a smaller dinner, just adults, something more intimate." I frowned. "Oh, so no kids at all?" Another pause. Then more hesitantly, "Well, no. Not exactly." A cold knot twisted in my stomach. "What do you mean?" Dad let out a sigh as if he were the one being put in an uncomfortable position. "Alex, we love your kids. We really do, but they're a bit, energetic. And, honestly, we just feel like it would be better if you left them with a sitter this year." I gripped the edge of the counter. "So just my kids? What about Danielle's?" Danielle, my older sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes even when she did. Dad hesitated, and that's when I knew. "Danielle and Samuel are coming with their boys," he admitted. "But you know how well behaved they are, Alex. They're just quieter, more refined. It's easier to have them at the table." A wave of heat flushed through me. I felt like I had been slapped, like the floor had suddenly been pulled out from under me. "They're just children," I said, my voice tight. "Emma is 7, and Lucas is 4. Of course, they have energy, but they're sweet, and they love you. We're just trying to have a peaceful evening," Dad replied. His tone clipped now, irritated that I wasn't just accepting this. "It's not personal, Alex. Not personal." I clenched my jaw, swallowing back the sharp words fighting to spill out. It wasn't just about Thanksgiving. It was the way they had always treated my children like an afterthought while putting Danielle's boys on a pedestal. The way they showed up at their school plays but never came to Emma's dance recitals. The way Christmas gifts were always just a little extra for Danielle's kids. And now, they weren't even hiding it. "I can't believe this," I whispered. "You're actually telling me that my kids aren't welcome, but Danielle's are?" "Oh, Alex, don't be dramatic." Dad sighed. "It's just one dinner. You and Lisa are still invited, of course." I almost laughed at the absurdity. They wanted me there, but not the two people I loved most in this world. I swallowed hard. "No, Dad. If my kids aren't welcome, then neither am I." A long silence stretched between us. Then Dad exhaled sharply as if I were the one being unreasonable. "Suit yourself." And just like that, he hung up. I stood there staring at the phone, my breath unsteady. I could hear my kids in the next room giggling as they built a pillow fort, oblivious to the fact that their grandparents, the ones they adored, had just cast them aside like an inconvenience. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I'd spent my whole life trying to please my parents, trying to earn their approval, but at what cost? And if I let them get away with this, if I went to that dinner while my children sat at home wondering why they weren't good enough, what kind of father would that make me? No. I wasn't doing this anymore. They had made their choice. Now it was time for me to make mine, and they would regret it sooner than they thought. The weight of my father's words lingered long after the call ended. I stood in my kitchen, the quiet of the refrigerator filling the silence. My phone still clutched in my hand. My fingers trembled as I set it down, my heart pounding with a mixture of anger and sadness. I had always known my parents favored Danielle, but I had convinced myself that it wasn't as bad as it seemed, that deep down, they loved all of us equally. But tonight, they had ripped away any illusion of fairness. They didn't even try to hide it anymore. They loved her children more. A sudden laugh, pure, carefree, echoed from the living room. I turned to see Emma and Lucas still playing in their pillow fort, completely unaware of the rejection that had just taken place. My chest tightened. They deserved better. I squared my shoulders and walked into the living room, forcing a smile. "All right, you two," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Who's ready for movie night?" Lucas immediately perked up. "Can we watch the one with the talking dog?" I scooped him up into my arms, kissing his soft curls. "Of course, we can, buddy." But as we curled up on the couch, the anger inside me refused to settle. I had spent years trying to fit into my parents' world, playing by their rules, hoping that if I just did everything right, they would finally see me as equal to Danielle. But it had never been enough, and I was done trying. The next morning, I woke up to a text from my sister. "Danielle, Dad said you're being difficult about Thanksgiving. Why do you always have to make everything so dramatic?" I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. Of course, she had already run to her. "Me, oh, so she told you she uninvited my kids but invited yours?" The typing bubbles appeared then stopped. A minute passed before she finally responded. "Danielle. He just wants a calm dinner, Alex. You know how your kids can be a lot. A lot. Like, they were a burden. Like, they were something to be tolerated, not loved." Something inside me snapped. "Me, enjoy your perfect Thanksgiving, Danielle." "I won't be there." I turned off my phone before she could respond. They didn't want me or my children at their table? Fine. I wouldn't be part of their world at all. And they were about to find out what that really meant. For years, I had been the reliable one, the one who always helped when they needed something. When my parents needed someone to pick up their groceries, they called me. When their Wi-Fi stopped working, I was the one who drove over to fix it. When they wanted help organizing a family party, I was the one stuck making calls and running errands. And Danielle? She got to be the golden child, doing the bare minimum while reaping all the rewards. But if I wasn't part of their preferred family, then they weren't going to benefit from me anymore. A week before Thanksgiving, my father called again. I debated ignoring it, but finally answered. "Hello? Alex," he said, his tone cautious. "I just wanted to check in. I know you were upset, but I really hope you'll reconsider. We would love to have you and Lisa there." "Not you and the kids, just you and Lisa." I took a deep breath. "I meant what I said, Dad. If my kids aren't welcome, neither am I." He sighed heavily as if I were exhausting him. "I just don't understand why you're being so stubborn. It's just one night. You know how much Danielle's boys mean to us." And there it was, the final painful confirmation that my children, the two little humans I loved more than anything, would never be enough for him. I clenched my jaw. "You've made it clear where we stand, Dad. I won't bother you again." "Alex, don't be like this." I ended the call before he could finish, and this time, I didn't cry. I started small. When my dad called me that weekend to help him set up his new TV, I let the call go to voicemail. When my dad sent a text asking if I could pick up his prescription, I left it unread. For years, I had been at their beck and call, always available, always reliable, but not anymore. And it didn't take long for them to notice. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I had missed a total of 12 calls and ignored 6 texts. Then on the morning of Thanksgiving, I got a message from Danielle. "Danielle, Mom and Dad are really upset that you're ignoring them. Are you seriously going to let this go this far?" Me, it already went too far when they told me my kids weren't welcome. This time, she didn't reply. I put my phone on silent and turned my attention to my real family.